So we're talking about, so you remember how the left screaming about how fascism is going to take over, we're deporting illegals, and that's like, you know, the fascist state of America. Our democracy is in peril. We are being assaulted by anti-constitutional tyrants. They're violating our civil rights. Well, boys, time to give up our guns. You cannot tell me that you believe a fascist dictator is coming to power and you want to give up your fucking guns. You cannot tell me that. Fuck you. Fuck you in your face. Just fuck you. Oh, okay, so it's probably not right. Let's see. The claim, the bill is 31 years old, held crimes, mass shootings. Okay, so he's talking about the video. All right. I don't want to listen to Adam Schiff speak. So we're just gonna Assault Weapons Ban Act, right? So he's basically the centrist, not if more like Bill Maher is not right-leaning at all. Bill Maher has always been a liberal. He is a liberal's liberal. He is the liberal's liberal. I like Bill Maher because he is the one who showed me a different side of reality that I thought may have been there, but couldn't really see. And when I watched his movie Religulous, and then I hear him talk about, liberalism and liberal values, it's like, that's the kind of shit I agree with. The reason I call myself a liberal and a progressive is because I believe in things like the Constitution and inalienable human rights. You should be able to speak freely and not be censored by the government so long as you're not hurting people, like with calls to action to violence or things like that, right? Hate speech is free speech. Fuck you. Guns. Big gun dude. Guns. I want more people with guns. I want every American to be trained and have guns. Yes. I want more black people to own guns. Yes. 100%. More of them. Let's go. Whenever I see people posting bullshit about these black dudes holding guns and that proves that they're criminals, it's like, fuck you, bro. It's like, fuck you, bro. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. A classic liberal. Yeah. And Fourth and Fifth Amendment, right to search and to unlawful search and seizure, and the right to not incriminate yourself. Like, I believe in all of these things, right? I believe that slavery is wrong. We should not allow it. We should also not allow our fucking mega corporations to exploit slave labor in other countries. That is bad, and they should be punished for it. Oh, and so yeah. And I also believe in things like gay marriage because we are not a Christian nation. The nation was founded by Christians. It was a nation of Christians, right? And still is, for the most part, especially with all the third world immigration coming in from the south of the border. The vast majority of those motherfuckers are conservative Catholics. Hardworking, conservative, family-oriented, religious individuals. Who does that sound like? Anyway, so like gay marriage, absolutely, 100%. The government should not be run as a religious institution, even though it was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, which it kind of is, sort of. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. But for the most part, it is because of the idea that everyone is created equal before God, right? Even though we're not created equal on earth, we're all equal before God. We all have that little divine spark that makes us human. And that useful narrative, whether it's true or not, it is a very useful narrative for human rights. I agree with. It is a very useful narrative. And that means that we're all equal under the law. And I 100% believe in that. We should all be equal under the law. And things like fines for breaking the law are simply just a tax on the poor. Because if you're rich and all you get is a $100 fine for breaking the law, wow, what does it matter if you break it then? It's just $100. It's not like it means anything, right? If I were a multimillionaire and doing something that was, stupid and dangerous only cost me $100 every time I did it, why would I not just keep doing it if I could pay for it and I wanted to do it and it was fun, right? But the poor can't because it costs them too much money. This is so stupid, right? It sounds absolutely ridiculous. And obviously the fines get worse and worse the more you do it. But again, it's still one of those things where rich people get a lot better at it because, lawyers and money and all the other stuff. I do agree. Fines should probably be relative to income and relative to the infraction. 100%. Like somebody who's poor as dirt fucking gets caught jaywalking. Maybe the fine should be $25 to $100. That's more than enough to fuck them over, right? Don't jaywalk. If you're a rich motherfucker and you jaywalk and you're like fucking some CEO who makes like $10 million a year, I don't know, a couple $1 million sounds pretty good to me. Maybe that'll make you think twice before jaywalking, asshole. That's why I love some of these foreign countries that especially if you're driving around in like some badass sports car, and I think it's Saudi Arabia maybe, or something like that, where they have cameras everywhere, and you'll get like $15,000-$20,000 tickets, because you don't just get a ticket for speeding, you get a ticket for every minute that you're doing it. So you can rack up like huge fucking bills. And I thought that shit was so funny, because it's like, yeah, stop being a dickhead and being dangerous, dumbass. We all have to drive on the road. If you're a rich asshole and you want to drive fast, build your own goddamn road away from the regular road and drive on that like an idiot. That way, when you get hurt, the only person you're hurting is yourself. And potentially all the emergency personnel that are going to have to pull your ass out of that thing. Poor treatment of animals. Yeah. Most humans had a ton of human rights, but animals, even the ones that you don't eat, have absurdly poor amounts of rights. I agree. We should have more, and there should be greater punishments for abusing animals. If you torture an animal, you should be locked away. 100%. That's not a fine. If you kill a bunch of animals for no fucking reason other than cruelty, you should go to jail. You absolutely should. Like, we should not abide by people who do that. And like, it's ridiculous, the low level of fines that you would get for that. It's absolutely atrocious. I think that's the kind of thing that gets sensationalized. If you don't have a case till it'll get thrown out. If you do have a case, well, you should sue. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm a liberal. And I didn't explain the progressive part. So how am I progressive? Well, I want to continually improve our republic, which means that we should be granting more human rights to people, so long as it is practicable, right? So you have places where you have like abortion, right? Where it's not just I do not believe that abortion is the right of a human female. What I do believe is that abortion is a necessary evil that we have to have, because we lack the medical technology to properly take care of the issues that we have revolving around abortion. Because if we did, then I would advocate for that. But there's also the rights of the unborn. And what I want codified rights of both females when regards to abortion and regards to the unborn, because they do have rights. They should have rights anyway. They are human and they should have rights. It's as simple as that. And so when the left keeps talking about expanding rights, they never talk about expanding rights to the unborn. It's always, we want more abortion rights, or they want more rights to kill babies, because that's essentially how I see it. Even though I know it's a necessary evil, it's one of those things, dude. I don't like it. That doesn't mean it should be illegal. And so this is where I start to split in the center, right? And as far as for the progressive, I'm a techno-humanist, right? I'm a post-humanist. I would replace my body parts with technology. Absolutely 100%. I want things like the freaking neurochip Elon is designing to actually be a thing. I want humans to go into space and colonize the stars. I want to colonize the solar system. I want to colonize the moon. I want to build gigantic fucking orbital space stations where the vast majority of the human population doesn't actually live on this fucking planet, but it lives in fucking space. And we can either do one of two things. We can either deconstruct the entire planet and use it as building material for more O'Neill cylinders and build habitats for the animals, or we leave the planet as a fucking like nature preserve where, a small portion of the human population still lives on it, but we've basically given most of it back to nature so we can go down and enjoy it when we need to. I'm all about that. That'd be great. That's thousands of years in the future, of course. But this is me progressing. I want you to be able to genetically augment yourself. So the trans question. One of the funny things about Star Trek is that they have genetic engineering capability to where you can literally change your DNA. So what that means is you could change your chromosomes. So what that means is if you had gender dysphoria and you wanted your treatment to be, you were born male and you now want to be a female, there is no plastic surgery shit going on. There is going to be some of that, but what's going to be going on is they're going to change your fucking DNA. and make you a fucking woman. They can literally grow you a uterus, right? They can literally grow more arms and then attach it to you, right? You can grow limbs back and all that shit. They can literally grow you a fucking uterus and implant it in your new, now genetically female body. The same with breasts. They can literally grow them. They don't have to be fake. All of this stuff. They can even change your brain's neurochemistry with the gene therapy that they would use. You got to remember that in places like Star Trek, they have the genetic engineering capability to turn the normal human into a person who is stronger than a Vulcan and more battle hard and more battle capable than a Klingon. Durable. More battle durable. So Klingons are extra durable. Vulcans are twice as strong as humans. Same as Romulans, right? They're like 1.5 to 2.5 times as strong as humans. Klingons are like double to triple the durability of a normal human being with all their redundant organs and fucking carapace and bones and all that shit. And yet we could genetically engineer humans to be stronger than Vulcans and more durable than Klingons. And smarter and more aggressive. Essentially Ubermensch. They can do that. In fact, that's what the eugenics wars in the 90s in the Star Trek universe were about. And so in the Star Trek universe, if we ever get the ability to alter DNA like they can in Star Trek, the trans question will simply disappear because they'll just become the opposite sex. They literally will be able to become the opposite sex. You would never be able to tell. I mean, they can literally genetically turn you into another species. Romulan spies have been known to be completely converted to essentially a human genome, to the point where on all normal scans of even DNA scans, they appear human. But they're actually Romulans. So if they can do that to a Romulan, turn them into a human, somebody with green fucking blood, they can absolutely turn a male into a female and a female into a male. There's no bullshit. And not only that, you got to think about it like this. If they did have gender dysphoria in the Star Trek universe, they might actually be able to treat the mental issue so you wouldn't have to do anything. They would just fix it. Because maybe there is a way, maybe there's something with your genes or something with your brain that's not quite like it is with other people. And if you want to just continue on, you just want this to go away, you want this dysphoria to stop and go on about your life, maybe they could do that too. Or if you actually want the therapy to change over, they could do that too. I imagine you would be able to choose whatever you want. And that's the thing, think about it like this. You live in the Star Trek universe. It's a free liberal society. It doesn't matter if you have gender dysphoria or not. If you literally want to fucking turn yourself into a woman, you fucking can. If you want to have robotic body parts, you fucking can. You want to have fucking octopus tentacles under your asshole, you probably could do that too. Do you put any limitation on the amount of freedom you give to someone to transform their bodies? As in, if someone wanted to be a lion, would you allow them to do that? A good question. That's a very good question. Because everything I've given is like you're still default human, right? So, I don't know. I would say this is that I wouldn't find it acceptable. But legal? I'd have a hard time being like you're an adult. But see, the problem is like, why would someone want to do that? That does sound like enabling mental illness. Thank you, exactly. Yeah, you pointed it out exactly. It's like, that would have to be something that would, like that's definitely a medical thing. And you say, you trust the doctors and stuff, but we know that they're just as biased and politically fucking activated as anybody else. So it's kind of a hard thing to do. But in a perfect world, this person would go through like mental evaluations and make sure that they're not having some kind of crazy mental illness. And it's like, if that's just what you want to do and you want to turn yourself into a lion, I don't know. Like, I don't even know. Like, even if it were possible, what if you wanted to turn your brain into a lion's brain too? You wanted to stop being human, as in human, Homo sapien. You didn't just want to look like a lion, you wanted to become one. So essentially you would become an animal that could be owned. Right? Is a perfect transition necessary for changing their legal gender? I have no idea. Because on one hand, it's their body, and if they want to make a mistake with it, as long as they're not hurting anyone, it's that kind of problem. Yeah, but that's the thing, is that no matter what you do, you're going to hurt somebody. Because think about it like this. We're not just independent islands, right? You have everybody in your like friend circle, family circle, the people that care about you and love you, they are all affected by the things that you do in your life. So if you are slovenly and unkempt and you don't take care of yourself, people in your people who love you, who care about you, will suffer because you're not taking good care of yourself, right? Because you'll get medical conditions, you'll get sick, and potentially die, leaving them with that, hole. So it's just like the reason I do, one of the biggest reasons why I focus on my health and mobility and stuff like that is because of my kids. I want to be able to be there with them and help take care of them and potentially help take care of grandkids that I might have. And I need to be relatively fit so that I'm not like fucking bedridden and shit, right? I owe it to my children to be healthy. You do owe other people your health. You absolutely do. Because everybody that raised you, everybody that helped you become who you are, all the friends that supported you throughout your entire life. It's just like when you build a business in America. Yeah, you built that, but so did other people help you do it. The entire civilization exists so you could do a thing. Well, your entire community around you is affected by the things that you do. So if you're doing bad things to yourself, you're hurting them too. Just like if you were to become a drug addict, you're hurting everybody around you, not just, even if you don't steal anything from them, the fact that you're hurting yourself hurts them, right? And so it is one of these, preying on people with mental illness. I do agree. So it's giving incentives for doctors for this money and other reasons, yes. And that's one of the sick things about the transgender surgeries, that it looks like what's going on. I don't know if it's true or not, but it does look like there are some doctors that may not be money motivated, but it sure the fuck looks like it when they're just bragging about how many of these fucking things they're just churning out, and all these insurance companies are paying for it. So you've got all these plastic surgeon doctors who specialize in transgender surgeries doing this. And again, I don't know if what I'm saying is true, but it does appear that way to me. And it looks really fucking bad. And the thing about it is we're talking about the blue team is supposed to be the anti-corpo team, right? Right? They're supposed to fear corporate power. Yet when these insurance companies and stuff like that, these insurance companies are making fucking bank off this shit. And nobody cares. Nobody cares that this is monetarily incentivized. Isn't this what the left is supposed to be against? Right? That's what blue team is supposed to be all about. Protecting the vulnerable from those who would prey upon them, especially because they're either weak or mentally ill or some other type of nonsense. This is why it's never listen to what people say, listen to what they do. Right? There are plenty of people on blue team who are perfectly good liberals and all this other nonsense, and there are people on the red team who are perfectly good conservatives, and they're just normal people. They just have different opinions. Seems to me the pragmatic view is to gender transition is to prevent suicide, and so preventing that is ineffectual moralizing. Seems to me the pragmatic view is gender transitions prevent suicide. Preventing that is... See, that's the thing, is that are the people actually trans? Or are they going through normal things that people go through, and it's just being exacerbated by cultural shit? We know that things like, what is it called? Social contagion exist, right? And we know, so just like mass delusion exists, right? It's a similar concept in how people react to things. And so, sure, you can say the solution to this is gender transition. That's fine to prevent suicide. But when you have data that says that many of the people who report gender dysphoria don't actually need to be transitioned, and most of them would just become gay, whatever the fuck they are, like gay men or gay women, I can't see that full-on medical transition could be a default treatment program, right? And I absolutely know for a fact that there are people who are pushing this shit because it is a political agenda, and they're not actually doing the patients any good. I know someone who is dealing with this kind of thing in a place that is very, 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 very progressive, and this is actually happening. They are just basically rubber stamping these motherfuckers through, and these are actual children who don't understand shit, right? You got to remember, what were you like when you were 12? What were you like when you were 13? That's right. You were a fucking dumbass, ignorant shit stain who didn't know a goddamn thing, right? So your feelings are valid when you're that age, but your conclusions are not. Remember? We were all there. We all know what it was like being that ignorant. And now you put this on top of it, and it's like We have to know what's going on. And we also know that there are people who are ideologically and monetarily motivated to do these things. So if you absolutely wish to protect this small minority of people who are very vulnerable to this, then you have to make sure what's going on. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's true, if that is true or not. It literally doesn't, because we need to do what's right, not what statistically people regret. Because people can do the right thing and still regret it. You do realize that, right? You could do the right thing for yourself and still end up regretting it in the long run because of some other reason. Even though you did the right thing, because it didn't work out properly, right? Oh my God, why did I pay $20,000 for LASIK when my eyes just got gouged out? Oh my goodness, right? So yes, that's a ridiculously silly example, but that's my point, is that you can end up regretting things for ancillary reasons that have nothing tied to that. And not only that, if we're talking about doing what's right to vulnerable minority groups, then we need to talk about what's right for minority groups, and not what makes people feel good or not what people think feels right, but what actually is the statistically good thing to do. And so that's where this is kind of hard, because I don't care about transitioning people. If you're an adult and you want to transition, you go right the fuck ahead. I don't give a fuck. Just don't make it my problem. Simple as. It's when you involve children, because children don't have the same full rights as adults. They just do not. They don't have the right to vote. They don't have the right to own guns. You know, I don't even think they have well, actually they would have the right to free speech. It's just that if they were to break that, the parents would be responsible. I was incorrect to even start that sentence. But yeah, they don't have the same kind of rights that we do, because they're ignorant and dumb and can't make decisions properly, right? Especially the younger they are. And so, like, literally transitioning your 2-year-old, that is some of the most retarded shit I've ever heard of. It is literally full on ideological retardation, hands down. I know people who were trans kids, so I do agree that trans kids exist, but we don't actually know how many that is, how many actually exist versus how many are just confused. Because, like, I put on a dress when I was a kid. I put on fucking my mom's heels. Why? Because I was pretending to be my mom. I was like 5 years old. I got pictures of it. I don't give a fuck. I was a 5-year-old. I was gender bending. I was pretending. I was playing. This is normal. This doesn't make me want to be a woman. Do you see what I'm saying? And there are a lot of people who went through stuff like that when they were a kid, just more than I did, right? That was probably the only time I can actually remember. I think I may have put on makeup one time and wore some earrings, and that was about it as far as like the gender bending shit that I ever did. And I mean, I played with Barbies, but that's because, you know, G.I. Joes need friends. So, you know, it happens. So does Hulk Hogan action figures, apparently. But there are a lot of people who were really, like a lot of females who were really tomboyish when they were young, or a lot of dudes who were really effeminate when they were young. And these same kind of people are being pushed into this trans ideology shit, when you could see that they feel like they would have been pushed into this because of how they acted when they were kids, when they turned out relatively normal. Now, to be fair, that is survivorship bias. I will absolutely point out that is survivorship bias, 100%. This is why it's so goddamn complicated, because there is no easy answer. Saying we should just allow them to transition, okay, we allow them to transition. So how many kids are you willing to sacrifice on the altar of transition who are not actually trans, or who are not actually suffering from gender dysphoria, or who are suffering from gender dysphoria, but simple therapy will fix it? How many of those people do we need to sacrifice on the altar of saving suicidal gender dysphoria children? How many are acceptable? How many willingly are acceptable? And if it turns out we do this for a decade, and it turns out that there are a lot of people who shouldn't have been transitioned but were, and they end up killing themselves, are you going to change your mind now that the suicidal rate is the other way around? If the data starts contradicting you, are you going to change your mind? We can agree on that. We can absolutely agree on that. And that's really my contention with the whole trans debate, is the children thing. And the funny thing is that if I ever do end up making my game for humans, it is just going to be a male female selector. And the reason it's going to be a male female selector is for the exact reasons that I put out. They have the technology to literally make you change your gender, or not, to change your sex at a DNA level. That means your chromosomes can be changed as well. So you can literally be turned from an XY, which is a small gamete producer, which we normally call human males, to a large gamete producer, which is XX, which we normally call human females. And it's going to be fantastic because it's going to include so it's going to be all inclusive, but it's still going to be male female. Irony, baby, irony. Why are we allowing kids to make these kinds of decisions? Because people are fucking went full retard. That's why. Remember, our democracy is in peril. We're being assaulted by anti-constitutional tyrants. They're violating our civil rights. Let's give up our guns. Now, I know this is just one fucking idiot and a bunch of idiots that are following him around. I know that. This does not represent all of Blue Team. But it's the same on the Red Team side. You can't just take one person being fucking retarded saying, oh, we should arrest the fucking Supreme Court judges because they disagreed with Trump as the fucking default position of the entirety of Red Team or the administration as a whole, right? It's the same kind of deal. But yes, this is full retard. That's what this is. This right here is exactly why people call shit uniparty. Is because when the Republicans were fucking on the upswing, what happened? Fucking one of the Republican dudes put forth an abortion ban bill in the federal government. What is that going to do? Well, that's going to isolate almost 3/4 of the electorate away from you that doesn't agree with that shit. Because I will absolutely not be in favor of an abortion ban on a federal level. Absolutely not 100%. No. Like I said, I want rights of the unborn and rights of women to abortion to be codified into law. But I do not want unfettered abortion or no abortion. Those are two unacceptable extremes I will not have. Period. Hands down. And the thing about it is, abortion is one of those things where you absolutely do have to balance the rights of two different sets of individuals who have conflicting civil rights. Because the unborn are human and should have rights. And in fact, they do have rights. We just suspend them for abortion for whatever reason. But, if you shoot a pregnant woman and kill her, well, that's double murder. Because duh. Problem is you're allowing kids to make decisions for themselves when they are so young. Yeah. And you got to realize that there's a lot of pressure on the parents to just accept. What happens if you don't accept your kids? Well, they're going to do what they did to Elon Musk. And they're going to shit all over you for not accepting your fucking trans kid, right? It's the same kind of shit. Now, they're doing it for more than just that, but that's the kind of shit that you have to deal with. And if you're in a hyper-liberal city, how's that going to look? How's that really going to look? There's going to be a lot of public pressure for you to do these things. And a lot of it is also, some doctors. Now, like I said, there are trans kids. I actually know a person that I've interacted with who was a trans kid. They knew from an early age something was fucked up, and they eventually figured it out, and it was because they were trans. And they have fully transitioned as an adult to a female. No problem. Right? Now, there was a lot of fucked up shit that went on in her life, like conversion therapy, like her parents were like ultra fucking Christian and shit. So, you know how that goes, right? Like really fucked up shit. Which shouldn't happen, by the way. So I do agree with the notion that there are kids who are trans. But every available therapy should be tried before we mutilate people, before we make people neuters. Because that's what you're doing when you're allowing these people to transition. If you're trans and you're transitioning from male to female, you're not becoming a woman. You're becoming a neuter. Right? That's what it's called. That's actually what it's called. You could go eunuch, but eunuchs still tend to have penises and then they just have their testicles removed. But if you're removing both, you're a neuter. You've been neutered. Like dogs get neutered. Like dogs get spaded. Right? If you remove your genitals and you're no longer able to secrete those gametes, that is the technical definition. So this is why I'm like, especially in like fantasy settings or sci-fi settings like Star Trek, you can literally alter your DNA to make this a thing. They can literally turn you from a Romulan to a human. They can fucking do it from male to female and female to male. Like, yeah. So I think we're gonna. And speaking of Star Trek, I think we're gonna hop into that bad boy. I just wanted to make fun of Adam Schiff for being the fucking shiftiest motherfucking lion piece of shit ever, and being fucking retarded and dumb and Like I said, this is why they think uniparty exists, is because there are people on both sides of the aisle that will literally put their gigantic fucking foot in their mouth and sabotage everything their team is trying to do. For what? Virtue signaling? Virtue signaling? That's what he's doing. That's what freaking dude bro on the right did when he introduced an abortion ban. It was pure, unadulterated, stupid, retarded virtue signaling. What he needs to do is he needs to shut the fuck up about this. Or he needs to be like, we need more guns to fight Trump. Yes. Yes. More guns, fight the fascists. Guess what? Armed minorities don't get bashed, baby. Right. That's right. Armed minorities don't get genocided either, motherfucker. With everything that means, including not having, yeah, well, I mean, that's true. That's true that you won't have the experience of growing up as a female. But what I'm saying is that if you have dysphoria and there's no other therapy that they've developed that can solve it, or you choose not to use that therapy because you literally do want to become what you would consider a woman, and they can change your chromosomes so you can literally have the experience of living as a woman for the rest of your life. You know, because like I said, you could literally grow another uterus. You can grow ovaries and stuff like that. They can grow all these things and implant them in you surgically. And it should all work the way I understand Starfleet medical technology, right? Because they can regrow limbs. They can regrow, like, basically your entire skeleton. Like, pretty much any body part you have can be regrown, right? Your heart, with the exception of your brain and your eyes. That's it, I think. So why would they not be able to change you genetically into a female and then give you the body parts that are required as if you grew them yourself? And then the moment you, like, after you're healed and step out, no one would really be able to tell the difference. So you're right. There's no, like, you won't have the true woman experience. But as far as anyone would be able to tell, you are an adult human female. Because you have the frame of a man still. Yeah, but that's the thing, is that, do they? And I don't think that's necessarily true, because they don't have a frame of a man either, because they're not a man, right? They have gender dysphoria. So they don't actually have the view of a normal man, of a normal heterosexual straight man, right? They don't, because they've got gender dysphoria. And perhaps maybe they're having gender dysphoria because they're gay, or perhaps because there's some kind of weird body morphism going on with them growing. Because right, a lot of people have body issues when they're teenagers, because they're growing and they're changing and it doesn't feel right. And that's where a lot of girls get this gender dysphoria from. Almost every girl I've ever talked to had some kind of like shit with their body, like including my wife, because she has really gigantic breasts. And so that was a big problem for her when she was young, and it took her a while to get used to it. And once she did, it was fine, right? But you could imagine that triggering some kind of shit where you just want to, like, cut them off and, like, be a man instead, right? Like, I can understand how the brain can fuck with you like that. Lack of uterus and ovaries. Yes, you say all that, but this, like I said, we're talking Star Trek technology. So you can change the DNA. You are now a human female as far as your DNA is concerned, right? Then you use fucking surgery to change your body to match the DNA, and then your body should just adapt from there. So as far as anybody else is concerned, you are a human female. You have the correct hip to waist ratio, and the only way you can be identified as someone who transitioned is through your medical record. That is entirely possible. If they can turn a goddamn Romulan into a human, right? Romulans, twice as strong as humans, have green blood. They have copper instead of iron. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, bro. Romulans. Their heart is right here. Okay? And they can literally genetically change you into a human. I think male to female is going to be piece of cake. And that's what I'm talking about, is Star Trek. So we're talking about Star Trek levels of technology. So a fantasy setting. This is just like having trans people in, like, fantasy settings. If you have high levels of, if you have lots and lots of high level magic. So if you have magic like in D&D, there should be an actual spell that would be able to change your gender, like legitimately just change you. Just like in, like, Fable, where you can drink a potion that changes your gender. It turns you from man into a woman, or changes your sex, whatever. I'm using them interchangeably. And so it's just like having wheelchairs in fantasy is kind of fucking retarded. Now, if you're walking around a wheelchair, if you have a wheelchair in fantasy, or you need a mobility device, then the mobility device should be set in the universe that you're in. So instead of having a wheelchair that looks like a modern day wheelchair just made out of wood because you're in a medieval setting, how about because you're in a medieval magical setting where high magic exists and it's readily available, like almost anybody can become a level 1 fucking cleric or a level 1 fucking wizard. All you got to do is like study for like, you know, a couple hours a day and you can cast, you know, light or whatever. Like in a place like that, you should easily be able to come up with a mobility device that fucking hovers or has like walker legs or stuff like that. Or potentially they could just fucking cure you because they have like, you know, resurrection. And I'm sure if you can pull someone's soul back from hell or heaven or wherever the fuck it is they go, I'm sure there's probably a spell somewhere that'll fix your fucking legs. And if not, they could possibly make mechanical ones that'll fit over your legs that'll work. Or potentially make you a walking machine that you could control with your mind. And or maybe a hoverboard thing like a dark elves can do. They summon a disc and they can like hover on it a little bit. They could do that. That way you can like hover upside down and fly in corners and stuff. That would be fucking awesome, right? Good stuff. But do they do that? No, I want the wheelchair. What is your thought on the FTC and antitrust law? I'm still curious on the centrist thing. It's a bit complicated. It depends on exactly what you're talking about, but I do believe that people's ideas should be theirs. So if I create a product, I should get paid for it. But if Disney buys my product, they shouldn't be able to like they shouldn't be able to lock it behind a wall forever. There should be a cutoff date. And as far as the antitrust laws, wait, I'm talking about the wrong thing. Excuse me, my bad. I thought you were talking about IP law. My bad. My brain went in the wrong direction. As far as the FTC and the antitrust laws, it really depends on what you're talking about. I do believe that companies should be held to account for the things that they do, and they should be punished severely for it, to the point where it's not just cost of doing business. It's like if you violate this, not only will you go to fucking jail, but you should be fucking, your company should be utterly crippled. And if you can't pull out, that's too fucking bad. Maybe you shouldn't have broke the law. But it really is one of those things where it's just like, I do believe in regulation, right? The system exists to protect people. The problem is that special interest groups influence our government so that the regulations are used to protect them instead, right? This is one of the reasons why, like Florida, how some states have used like beer regulation to prevent small breweries from popping up, because you have to have certain types of technology that require large amounts of investment to be able to properly brew it safely, when a lot of those things are semi-superfluous, right? And so it's just like when you're making moonshine, half the reason that moonshine is illegal is not because it's illegal, it's because people avoid taxes. And one of the reasons they avoid taxes is because you have to have a certain type of mechanical distillery that distills in a certain way that's considered safer. But again, in some of those methods are literally just giant corporations putting barriers in the way of smaller businesses that are run by, you know, like individuals or small groups, to prevent them from getting a cut into the market, because to get into the market is so expensive already, right? Because you have to abide by these regulations, which require, you know, $10-20 million worth of capital just to get off the ground. And then you have to pay all that money back while you're trying to run a business that's brand new, right? So some of these things are absolutely necessary as far as safety goes, but some of them are not and are influenced that way. And so as far as like antitrust law, like I definitely think we should prevent monopolies from completely capitalizing everything, and that certain regulations like regulating USB chargers and shit is a really good idea. And I definitely believe we need to do it against fucking video game companies that are using loot boxes for gambling and promoting it to children, because fuck you, that's why. All right, so my dudes, Star Trek's up next. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go kiss my wife and maybe do some other things, and we'll be right back. So stand by.